What was the mindset that made it like easy to just go all in on yourself?
We really wanted a kid. That kid was born. That was the shift for me.
What separates content that converts versus like content that just gets views?
If you can just give value to the audience, shit's going to convert.
We're at the pool and I look around because I'm the only one with a device. And then I kind of notice how everybody's on their device.
We had devices. We're watching the Tiger show and we're also posting about it on Instagram. That's what's so crazy about it is we're so addicted, similar to heroin. When I pick up my phone in front of my kid, her face, dude, it breaks my heart.
With the new brand, Human Dad, like what have you learned the past 6 months that you didn't know before?
I know how to do Google ads. I know how to do marketing. I could do social media. Like I'm good. Okay. I don't need you. You cannot do everything.
The term dadpreneur, what does it mean to you?
I run a business not to make money. I run a business to have.
What's up, you guys? Welcome to another episode of the Elliott Caldwell Podcast on Successful DNA. A treat today, my friend Tony Berardo. Tony, welcome.
Elliott, what up? Thanks for having me.
Long drive from Apollo Beach.
Yeah, no, I instantly regretted it the second I walked in here, but it's worth it.
Hopefully we can change the feeling and you'll be happy leaving here.
No, it was great. Thank you.
Let's start with this for the listeners to understand your craft and understand your entrepreneurship journey. Where are things at right now? We're April 2026. I know you're an entrepreneur, so you work 1,000 hours a week. But let's say it was 40 hours. Like, where's the time being spent from a percentage basis?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, a bulk of my business now, because I've been doing it for almost 4 years, is my content agency. So I run it with a buddy of mine, and we do a lot of social media work, whether it be management, creating content for brands, UGC stuff, and essentially just teaching brands to elevate their content. So that's probably like 90% of my time. And then I have my own podcast. That's a lot of fun too, that it's just a hobby, as you know.
Yeah.
You want to make it a full-time gig because once you get it going, it's like, it's addicting, but it's not making as much money as the agency.
Yeah.
And then the other part, which is my biggest passion, is my apparel brand, Human Dad. So that's like 5% of my business now.
Yeah.
I want that to kind of be, which we'll get into like maybe AI and stuff.
Yeah.
But I want that to be the forefront of my business because everything else it's changing so much. And by this time next year, it's like, I need physical things because it's all going to be digital AI crap soon.
Well, that's good to know. Of course, we'll work our way into, COVID and how everything transpired for you in the business and the content agency. But then before we get there, let's back all the way back. Born and raised, what was childhood like? What was growing up like? Where'd you grow up? How'd you meet your wife? All that.
Long story short, I'd probably say I was a pretty good kid, born and raised in Orlando, moved all over the country throughout my life, started a bunch of businesses with some buddies in my 20s. I did everything from working at Regal Cinemas, was my first gig. Shout out the movie industry, they're hurting. And then when I became 18, I was like, I want to do something a little bit different in my niche. And I was big into working out. So I wanted to be a personal trainer. So I got into personal training, did some sales, worked at LA Fitness, did that for 4 or 5 years. Realized that as a trainer, you're not making a lot of money, at least back then. And when you're working at a big gym like LA Fitness. So I was like, let me get into something else. So I got into marketing, learned a little bit, went to college, hated it, dropped out after a couple semesters, decided to do some door-to-door sales.
Cut your teeth there.
Woo, that'll change your life right there, bud.
Yeah.
So getting 100 notes to the face every single day. But I really, I loved marketing. I loved sales. I worked with a lot of big companies and traveled the country, and it was really cool. But I was like, I want to kind of do something on my own. So I always kind of had in my 20s somewhere down there was like, I'm an entrepreneur at some point. But having that dream doesn't pay the bills. So I started working for big corporations like Coca-Cola, Monster Energy. So I was with them for over a decade in the marketing and sales department. And that's when I was like, marketing is like the thing. And then content started to evolve, when I was turning 30. And I was like, now I kind of want to do a little bit of that. So I started doing some content on the side when social media became big. And that's where I kind of got my passion for social media. Fast forward, met my wife, things change. You're like, am I really working this much? Should I be working this much? Yeah. And do I really like what I do, right? From 9 to 5. But the pandemic hit, things changed, which maybe we'll get into. But
how old are you now?
Just turned 40.
Just turned 40. You don't look 40.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah.
Because you're still working out, probably.
I am still working out.
Yeah.
I do the cold plunge and all that bullshit they tell you to do. So maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Must be. And then how old are your kids?
So my daughter just turned 2.5.
Cool.
So she's almost 3.
When's number 2 coming?
Shh, dude, you sound like my wife.
Yeah.
Soon, maybe.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. 2's a good number, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 2.
I mean, you can do 4.
4?
Yeah, come on.
No, dude, that's a lot.
You got. I mean, it's not all about the Elon Musk train. We just got to keep giving back.
Just
to society.
repopulating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's dig in.
Yeah.
I think COVID's maybe a good place to start.
Yeah.
That was Monster to going on your own. Is that correct?
Yeah. So some wild shit happened with Monster. I've talked about it on my podcast. I don't want to throw them out, but it had a lot to do with my side hustles, and they weren't a fan of, what I was doing when I wasn't with the company. So, after 5 p.m. and I wanted to do the podcast or I want to do something else, work with another brand or something like that, they weren't really having that. So we parted ways, and that sucked because I was there for a while and I love that company. But I'm also, I was kind of in a different space anyway. Like I wasn't big into energy drinks. I wasn't big into beverages. I didn't drink soda. So I was there for the paycheck, and I realized that when I left. And that's when I decided, let me do my own thing. I've been doing the content thing on the side. I kind of, dip my toe in it. I like it a little bit. I was doing it part-time, like 5 hours a week on the weekends. Let me go all in. So me and my buddy started this agency, and I've been doing that for 4 years, and it's fucking awesome.
The beginning of that, I mean, what was the story? I mean, obviously nothing like starting a business in and around COVID.
Right.
Yeah. What's the story behind that?
I mean, I was kind of forced into it because A, the whole layoff thing happened, but B, I hit some pretty gnarly health scares. So during the pandemic, during me getting laid off, I ended up having.
When did you get laid off? Was that like March, April of 2020, or was that before?
It might have been a little bit after. I think it was like when things were calming down, quote unquote, with COVID.
Have things calmed down yet?
Right. Yeah. So I think when we were allowed to go outside. Yeah. So what was that?
2020. Yeah. I mean, it was Florida. DeSantis was like.
That's right. We were still. Yeah. We were going to the beach and shit. Yeah. But during that time, I was like, it's a good opportunity because I got some money in the bank. I had some retail or some real estate property that I bought and was renting out, and I had 2 properties. I ended up selling them. Thank goodness. Right before it started getting kind of crazy. So I made a good nut off that. So I lived off that for a minute while I tried to figure out what I wanted to do with the agency. But I was kind of forced into it because I ended up having a tumor in my lung after having like pneumonia and a bad cough, not knowing what it is, bunch of scans, found out it was a tumor. So I had to get a chunk of my right lung removed. Thank goodness it wasn't cancerous, after they tested it. But that right there kind of like checked me. And, we're not really trying to have a kid right now, right, during this time. But it checked me because I was like, dude, if I was with a company, they'd probably lay me off just for that, like skipping that many days. Like it made me realize being healthy is the most important thing. Being with my wife's the most important thing. So what can I do to make sure that this business sticks? And that's when I really started diving into the business. So
I'm very pro side hustle. I talk to our team all the time about, sure, I expect, 40 hours a week to,
sure,
earn your paycheck.
Right.
But then, there's another, 7 to 8 hours a day you're sleeping. Then there's another 60, 70, 80, 90 hours you're scrolling through TikTok, scrolling through Instagram, when you should be building your side hustle. What was the mindset? It would have been easy for you to just go take a job with Celsius or go take a job with another beverage company or whatever. And it's probably been the safe route and the more conservative route and the less aggressive route. Finding someone that would let you do your side hustle at the same time working with them. Yeah. But what was the mindset of like jumping off that cliff? I talk about all the time where like the first cliff is hard to jump off of. Oh yeah. I think it's easier. It gets easier. Then before you know it, you're jumping off 18 cliffs a day like I am now. But I remember the very first clip I jumped off of wasn't easy to jump off for you. What was the mindset that made it like easy to just go all in on yourself?
So it was that health scare that we had. But then also it was, we really wanted a kid. So we were going through IUI and IVF and all that stuff. And over 3 years, cost us $250,000. We finally got pregnant. But then once that kid was born, that was the shift for me, where it was like, because I even got a job offer from Celsius. I interviewed with them.
Really?
I turned it down. It was twice
randomly said that.
Yeah, it was twice as much money as what I was getting paid at another beverage company. Yeah. And I just didn't do it because they wanted me to be down in Boca, where their offices is, for like 3 days a week. I was like, no, not going to happen. Because we had a kid on the way, and I want to do everything I can to make sure I was home. And still, thankfully, I haven't missed anything. Like I can't remember last time I was out for longer than a few hours.
Yeah.
And that was the driving force. Was my dad and my mom, they were great parents and still are, but they were sharing custody, switching back and forth. My dad was working 3 jobs. I didn't want to be like that. I didn't want to work 3 jobs just to make enough money to potentially retire one day when I'm missing every moment possible. And we're very fortunate now, especially at the pandemic. It taught us that you don't need to necessarily go to work and put in 80, 90, 100 hours a week like we used to. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't need to knock on doors anymore. You could do a lot of things virtually. And even though being in an office is very important and you want to manage things and you can do that, but with social media and with AI coming, like there's so many great opportunities where you don't have to sling beverages in a truck anymore. You know, if you want to, that's cool, but there's other opportunities.
So 2020, you essentially launched into your own media brand.
Yeah.
Those early days, you know, probably wasn't easy starting going all in on a company during COVID. What were some of those early pain points in late 2020 and early 2021?
Yeah, I mean, figuring out like what your rate needs to be, you know, like what is your time worth?
Yeah.
Because when you're first starting off, no matter what business it is, as you know, it's like, how much am I going to charge for this? And then if you charge for that in highball, you might not get it, but if you do highball, you better deliver. And if you don't deliver, now you can't charge that again. So it's like trying to figure out that balance of time of I'm putting in 60, 70, 8 hours a week. Am I charging? Is it worth it? Versus the amount of money that I'm making and the services that I'm delivering. So that was the big thing for me. Is it took about a good year and a half to really figure out what I needed to do, the certain services I wanted to focus on. I mean, I did like podcast coaching. We still do a little bit of that, but that was like a big part of my business because I love podcasting.
Yeah.
So I ended up having so many clients teaching them how to start a podcast. Turns out though, it's a lot of work. So I was like, I can only handle like 3 clients at a time. Mm-hmm. But then I'm also trying to do UGC stuff and YouTube reviews and my own content and my own podcast. And then, I'm trying to be a good husband too. Like all that stuff was just too much. So I started kind of narrow my focus, outsource a lot of the work that I was doing. And as you know, sometimes as an entrepreneur, you're like, I can do everything myself because I want the money.
Yeah.
But you make way more money if you outsource.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the best. Because you're outsourcing more work. Essentially, you're duplicating yourself, so you're making more money, and you don't even know it. Yeah. It might not seem like it at first, but that was the big thing for me was I need to start delegating more.
And you probably had, you know, at least somewhere inside of you, I think all entrepreneurs have this like supernatural belief in themselves, where it's like no one else believes in them but them, right? Kind of deal, you know?
That's right. Our best trait.
Yeah. But at what point? Not only did you like believe in yourself, obviously, but then you're like, all right, this is actually going to work. Like at what point was the agency like?
I would probably say like when our daughter turned 1 and I was able to take everybody to Italy. Like we went to Italy for her first birthday. That's when it like hit me.
Did you go 1-year-old across the Atlantic?
Oh yeah.
On a flight?
It's great. Well, we wanted to do it before she can walk.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad we did because obviously we kind of regretted it on the way. But she was napping a lot, which was good. Now she barely naps. Yeah. But while we were over there, she actually had her first steps in front of the Coliseum.
That's cool.
So I was like, that's better than like my backyard.
So she's going to be a UFC fighter or something.
Correct. She's probably going to kick some ass. Yeah. But that was it for me, dude. Like when we went there for 2 weeks and I was like, I did all this. Like I did this. Yeah. Like, of course my wife is a big part of it, but like in terms of like seeing the goal, having the vision, saving up for a year, being able to make enough money to do that. And then like showing up to Italy and staying there for 2 weeks and not worrying about like how much money we're spending. I'm like, okay, I'm on to something here. But now when I get back, I got to double down because what's next? What big trip are we going to go on? What are we going to get a bigger house? Like what, you know, kind of narrowing in my goals. That's what did it for me. It was like, I'm excited.
And then while you're gone, I guess it's kind of changed from then to now too. But obviously someone's running the show while you're gone.
Yeah.
What was the team behind you look like?
So, I mean, they're great. But luckily I work with a lot of different creators, you know, graphic designers and a lot of people that I just contract to do a lot of the work that I used to do. But I'm very hands-on, like in terms of if I laid out the amount of work that we do, I would probably say I do 70% of the work. The other is kind of delegated to those creators and graphic designers and stuff. And a lot of projects don't really necessarily demand. I mean, we don't do big stuff. A lot of projects don't demand a lot of work. I mean, I'm working with 2 big clients right now where we manage their social media. That type of stuff typically I do on my own, and I outsource a lot of the UGC work and some of the graphic design stuff. But I just love to do it. Like, I love to tinker. I love to make stuff. And like, when you post it and it gets like 10,000 views and the client's like, yo, man, that popped. How'd you do it? And I go, I did it. I don't know. It's just research, but yeah. But if I outsourced it, then I would be like, I don't know. You'll have to ask Jerry. You know, like I'd like to be involved as much as I can. So,
can you think of any early risks that you had to take in the business?
Oh, dude, yeah. I mean, everything. I mean, being a father, being a husband, it's like, thankfully I have a supportive wife. She's like, do whatever you want. But I think she would do that even if we were broke, and that's probably not the best thing you want to say. But thankfully I'm the type of guy I'm a psycho. I just don't quit. So I think if it wasn't this, it would be another side hustle. I might like print out things on Canva and then go on Etsy and sell frames. Like, I don't know. I would figure it out within 12 hours if something went down. I can't be the person that slows down and stops. So thankfully I hit a lot of risk and a lot of bumps on the road where I had to ask my wife. I was like, hey, I mean, you think we should do this? Like, even when I started the apparel brand, she's like, that's a lot of work. You sure you're good? And I was like, yeah, because I'm going to delegate this other stuff. And that way I have more time to do this. Yeah. Because the forefront now that my kid's almost 3, is like, how can I figure out a way to spend more time with her, but still make the same amount of money, not more money. I think this is the problem that a lot of fathers make, is there's no such thing I think as a bad dad. It's just an overworked employee. Like, when the employee's working too hard, you come home and you're just a shitty dad. Yeah. Because you're working too hard. So if I can work a good amount, enough to make the same money for 20, 30 years, I'm happy with that. I'm not selfish to the point where I need 2 houses and a nice car. Like, we downsized our car. We downsized all of our streaming services to have ads. Crazy thought, but you save like $6 for Hulu if you do that. You do that to 10 platforms, $60, $70 a month. That's nothing to sneeze at. Yeah. That's an electric bill.
That's a lot of money.
That's not bad. I don't care. So I figure out ways to do that to where I don't want to make more money because it's just more work I got to put in. I could always work more, but my kid isn't going to be 2 again.
No, I agree with your point. Like, entrepreneur spouses are very important. And I think even like before people get married, if they had the entrepreneur spirit, like, it needs to be a conversation between the husband and the wife, or the boyfriend and girlfriend. Yeah. About, are they willing to live a life of risk? Right. And I think too, it's important. Like, I like to relate it to sports. So growing up playing baseball, like, I could never be a baseball coach. It was like, hey, Elliott, how did you hit? I don't know. I just swung the bat. It was just more, I don't want to say it was like, obviously there's a God-given piece to it, but it's also just more of a repetition piece to it. Not like you do, not like do these 20 mechanics and do these 20 things to be good. And so like,
well, you're more an action guy versus a sit back and
And so when a coach would try and, tinker with my swing or like edit my swing, or like, it just didn't work well. I don't want to say I wasn't uncoachable. Like, I listened and tried and said, yes, sir. I just could never figure it out. So my swing was my swing. And that's what it was.
That's right.
And so I like to compare that to my marriage, and what's been great for Kylie and I is she's just been more or less so supportive. And it's like a supernatural thing to where it's like, this is who she is, I guess.
That's great.
She's not in the business at all, really. I mean, that's a
good thing.
Yeah, she asks questions every day, but that's why we were. Because like, if it was the opposite, where it was like a coach trying to overhaul my swing, right? And I mean, we could never try business together because it would be an absolute nightmare just to who we are.
Right.
But yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, I think also too, it was important for us to have the conversation of like, is she going to work? Yeah. Right. Because having a kid,
is she in the business?
No, she's not. She has her own, she works for a corporate job that she likes. And
I can't tell if that was sarcasm or not.
Yeah, I want to be careful because I don't know who's listening. But yeah, so I mean, she enjoys it, but because she's able to work from home, and we're able to share shifts with our daughter. So like, I'll take the morning and then I'll put her down for a nap, and then my kid, not my wife. No. I put my kid down for a nap, and then when kid gets up, wife takes over and we like lock ourselves in the door. So it's when it's our turn to work, it's that 5 hours, 6 hours of, no, well, hi, I hope you have a great day. It's almost like we went to the office.
Yeah.
So I think we're good with that too. I think that's important when you both work from home or you're both entrepreneurs or one of the entrepreneurs. You got to separate work from home.
Yeah.
Because if not, I would never get any work done.
I think the best way to explain that, I haven't thought about this in a while, I don't think there's anybody that's in a 9 to 5, whether it's my team, your team, or anybody's, it's like, oh, I want to sit here for the next 40 years. Right. I mean, everybody has dreams and goals to, if not be an entrepreneur and create their own business, at least scale their corporate trajectory.
Climb up the ladder somewhere,
But the best way I've heard it explained is bloom where you're planted.
Ooh, that's good.
We're all in these positions that whether we want to be there or not, we're there.
That's right.
And so bloom where you're planted in this season of life. And I think about it from our team, especially if you're in the office, there are so many amazing people in this office. And the friendships and the relationships and the mentorship that you can have in this office. Yeah. I mean, if I'm an accounting person that's a junior in this office and I look at our CFO and our controller, and I'm not even being biased here, some of the top accounting and finance people that we could have possibly hired.
Oh.
And so, to be mentored by them is just the greatest thing ever. When sure, if you're a junior accountant in our company, probably not a goal of yours to be a junior accountant your whole life.
Yeah.
But so I think that's very important. Probably what she's taken into account too, the people she's around and being able to still grow.
Yeah. And I think, experience, I think we all can relate, even if you're an entrepreneur, the experiences you have in the corporate world, dealing with people, whether it's a mentor or other employees, you learn a lot. So I think that personal connection, that one-on-one interaction in the workspace is very important. So I especially with, again, technology, and as it continues to advance, it's the more interaction you can have with humans is what it's all about.
Yeah. We're seeing that even in the hospitality space of more creating experiences for people where it's put your phone down experiences and enjoy each other, whether it's a fire pit on a balcony or, just creating moments for people. So we're seeing that in hospitality too. Do you remember your first kind of piece of content that took off?
What's up, you guys? I wanted to introduce to you our done-for-you Airbnb investing service called BNB Turnkey that has massive tax implications. It's basically an investing service that allows you to invest in cash flowing Airbnbs and not do any of the work. It's best explained in 3 phases. Number 1, we find, analyze, and underwrite the property. In phase 2, we handle all the interior design and construction. And then phase 3, we manage the property on the back end. The best part is most of our clients qualify for the short terminal loophole of the IRS tax code. This allows for average clients to write off over $200,000 in depreciation on their tax bill. For more information, click the link in the description to connect with our team. As always, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of the episode.
Yeah, actually, I think it might have been my best piece of content. It was for my personal brand that helped me grow my following. It was, I think I got 18 million views on it. It went viral. It was where my wife was pregnant and we were walking from Target, like most of us husbands do, rolling our eyes, and I kind of grabbed the phone in selfie mode and I was like, guys, you need to take care of your lady, okay? You need to take care of your wife. She's the future mother of my child. You need to take care of her, okay? Here you go, babe. And I opened up the door, selfie mode, and then I walked around the car and I was like, okay, I got 3 seconds, guys. Don't get married. Do not listen to anything I just said. Yeah. You're going to be miserable. You're going to hate it. And then I open up the door and I sit down. I was like, all right, babe, you ready to go? Let's go. And I was like, and I did that, and it was kind of off the whim type of pandering. But yeah, they went super viral, and then I got a big following, and I was like, I think this whole, there's something with this dad thing. I think I have a unique perspective and a stoic perspective on a lot of things. How can I relate that to dad shit? And I started kind of molding my content to that. And I mainly did it because a lot of my friends now are fathers, and they're just shitty dads. They've always been shitty humans, but now that they're raising a little person, it's you should change. But a lot of them don't change, and that sucks. And I still love them, but it's it's such a big responsibility. And I figured if I could talk a little bit more about that in a fun way that dads can relate to, that's realistic and not like filtered through Instagram, I think I got something here. And I've been doing that for 2 years, and that's a big motivation that started me to have me start the apparel brand too.
And what have you learned kind of since then that's like more or less, I don't know, like what separates content that converts versus like content that just gets views?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, from a business standpoint, like from the agency standpoint, trends only get you so far. Like a lot of my clients, we do the trends, we get thousands and 10,000s of views, and that's great. But if you're not converting leads, what's the point? If you don't have a video that you can boost and throw some money behind some Spark ads and maybe make some money on social, whether it's Google or Meta ads, then what are we doing here? We're just making content to make cool videos. All right, that's great. And that's brand awareness, and that's going to help down the road. But in terms of like action, what can you do? And I think that all comes down to value. If you can just give value to the audience, shit's going to convert. And I look at that from a personal perspective. That's why I say like dad stuff that you could talk about. I'm just giving value. I'm not trying to hop on trends or doing funny things just to get the views. I'm just legitimately giving value, because if I can give value to 200 views, but one of those guys likes what I'm doing, that's the key. Versus like a video that does 2 million and you're getting 5 leads. Well, what's the point, right? What's the ROI on that? Like it's there's no difference between a couple million views and a couple hundred views. Because to me, if 100 people were in this room right now and they're listening to this podcast, they're getting value out of it. That's huge. You don't need 1 million.
Yeah.
Like 100, a lot of people. So
I don't know if you coined it, but I'm going to say you coined it.
Please.
The term dadpreneur.
I don't know if I did, but yeah, I think let's just say we did.
Yeah,
let's
let's
go
say
on
you
record.
did.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thanks.
What does it mean to you?
So it means, it means a couple things, but ultimately it means that I run a business not to make money. I run a business to have time. That's how I look at it. So I want to make my own time for my family. And it's not the other way around. I think a lot of dads that are entrepreneurs or maybe entrepreneurs in general, they just want to make money to just make money and more money, more this, more that, because I want bigger things. And that's all great. But, again, I'm not running a business to make money. I'm running a business so I have the time. And that to me is the key. Is I want to teach dads that having a business and spending time with your family, you can do both. It's possible.
And I feel like the world's getting into a place, not just with social media, but kind of in all things, where there's better self-reflection, I would say, and better self-understanding and better independent thoughts and thinking getting away from the matrix and more into the real world.
Yeah.
How do you foresee that in social media and how it applies to your role in social media with spending less time on social media?
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, so there's a couple that I've been doing lately that have helped is detaching myself from this device. So still doing the work, but doing everything on the laptop. So there's a lot of
same thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of great sites and apps that we could talk about, but none of them are sponsored. So fuck that. But there's a lot of things that I've been doing to disconnect from that for 2 reasons. Number one, the second I realize that when I pick up that phone, like even now it's close, I could feel it looking at me. When I pick up that phone for my kid,
It's listening to you.
it is listening to me. It's going to serve me an ad on what we're talking about. But when I pick up my phone in front of my kid, her face, dude, it breaks my heart. She doesn't even know what it is. Because we don't do any screen time, not even TVs. But when I do this just to like do an email and to see her face, it breaks my heart, because you could tell she's like, oh, I thought I had your attention. And it's this like droopy, and that to me did it. That was about a year ago where it really opened up my eyes. Yeah. And I think disconnecting from social media is just going to be better for all of us. Going analog and being retro or whatever you want to call it, disconnecting away from devices and figuring out ways to get shit done, not with this thing in your pocket. That's the future, I think. It's going to be hard to escape, but that's what you got to do.
I've done 2 things recently that I thought were great. One, we went on a baby moon, just me and Kylie.
Nice.
To the Bahamas, only 3 nights, and then having amazing in-laws and nanny that helped out with the kids. And but I turned my phone off for all 3 days, which was like first time I've ever done that. Since 2017 when I kind of started my entrepreneurship journey. Like it's been, how it is. It's been 100-hour weeks. It's balls to the wall, always on your phone, always working. And then, as we have kids and as we get older, I think I've started to just notice, right, how I'm on my phone all the time.
Yeah.
But then I go on this baby moon, and the first day is hard as hell. I'm like,
Right.
So I got a book. I'm reading a book. Luckily, the book was good. Or I'd have been screwed. It was the Band of Brothers book about World War II. But we're at the pool, and I look around because I'm the only one with a device, and then I kind of notice how everybody's on their device.
Everybody.
I think when you're on it too, you don't really notice how everybody's on it. But then well,
you don't. Here's the thing. You don't want to notice.
Yeah.
It's like you're the alcoholic at the bar watching everyone drink. You're like, this is normal.
Yeah. I don't have a drinking problem.
Yeah,
I got no problem drinking at all. That country song. This guy's, there's a couple here. He's on his laptop. She's on her iPad. They both got headphones in. I mean,
that's crazy.
You were on a vacation with your wife and you're plugged into a device working.
Yeah.
Which I would have been doing the same. I can't talk bad about them because I'd be doing the same thing about device.
Yeah.
But I think that was kind of an eye-opening moment.
Yeah.
Of there's 20 chairs around the pool. I'm the only one not on my device.
Yeah.
And, and even if someone's, not on their device, their headphones are in, they're doing something.
Yeah.
And then number two, what you just already mentioned, I deleted every single app off my phone.
Right.
I can only see Instagram on my computer. I don't get on Facebook anymore or TikTok anymore. Instagram is the only app I have. Actually, I lied. X, I'll get on my computer sometimes from a news source. But that has been great too. Because I think
just getting rid of it.
Just getting rid of the phone from this perspective. Right?
Yeah.
Of just reels.
Well, dude, it's the dopamine hit. That's the problem. Is a lot of people don't. It's hard to comprehend because we've been having these devices for so long, and then the pandemic I think was the one thing that really screwed everyone over. Is because if we were stuck at home in 2020 with no devices and just Netflix, we'd be watching that Tiger show and hanging out with our spouse, having a blasty. But because we had devices, we're watching the Tiger show. And we're also posting about it on Instagram.
Yeah.
And we're getting so many views and everyone's so happy about it. And we're all talking about it in this bubble. And it just became this addicting thing. And then the growth of TikTok, and that's what really killed us all, was that short hit of dopamine that we weren't getting from Instagram because it was just a picture. Oh, a nice little video. Oh, but when you can control how much you laugh, because TikTok's great. Let's be honest. The greatest app ever. But when you're getting that laugh every moment, and it's everyone is so funny on that app. There's so many people that are so talented and so funny, but it is so addicting. And they know what you like. The algorithm's so beautiful because it's only going to feed you shit you like.
Yeah.
So you're never going to see a video and hate it.
Yeah. I think it's funny, but no one else would think it's funny.
Correct.
It's just
it's for you, dude.
I'll send it to my wife. She's like, that's
it's called funny. A For You page.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not us. For you.
Yeah.
But when we look at it, we're like, oh my God, let me send this to my wife. And then you send it to her and she doesn't like it. It's not on her For You page. It's on, but that's what's so crazy about it is we're so addicted to it because it's so great and so perfect. But similar to heroin, you probably shouldn't start it because once you start it, you're really going to enjoy it. And I would imagine heroin's good. I mean, that's what everyone says, but I haven't tried it. Okay.
If it's black tar, you're good.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. No, I think, and even just going back on because with where I am in my world, in my life, I do have to be involved in social media, right? But at least I can go see what I need to see on Instagram on my computer, and then not on my phone.
Yeah. And the one thing, just not to interrupt you, but on that point of being a business, I don't think you should stop using social because I think it is important for your business, but I think you should just post and ghost. Mm-hmm. So you have a team that consumes for you and you keep up with trends and all that shit. You don't have to know what's going on with Cardi B or anything like that, but you post what you need to and you ghost. You set it down. You did your thing for your business. You had your call to action, whatever. You set it down and you go enjoy your life.
There was a sad stat I saw. I forget the exact stat. I'm paraphrasing, but it was used to be the most amazing things in your life or the things that made you most excited about in your life or actual things that happened that you thought were amazing, like your kid's first steps or you went to this amazing restaurant or you had this, something good's going on in life. But now it's you posting about it that makes you more happy than the actual thing that's happening.
I think I know what you're talking. Yeah, I read that too somewhere. And there was a great actor, I forget his name, but he said something that was profound and beautiful and really opened up my eyes. And this was just a couple months ago. But he said, I stopped doing social media because I saw a guy on a GoPro film climbing Mount Everest. So he's watching this video of this dude going to the top of Mount Everest, something that very few people saw. There's dead bodies on the way when you climb Mount Everest. So you're watching this in HD. This guy is risking his life and you get to see it. That should not be the case. 8 billion people should not be able to see what the top of Mount Everest looks like. It should be the people that climb Mount Everest. You should know what that's like. So that he stopped social media right away. And I forget the actor, but that to me opened up my eyes where it's like, you're right. Because we're experiencing like the Bahamas without going there.
Yeah.
You could see and be like, oh, it's pretty dope. Maybe we'll go there. We never go.
Yeah.
We never, because we saw it already.
Yeah.
Like it's taken all the zhazhu out of everything.
Yeah.
And that's what we got to get back to.
Yeah. We could talk for hours about all this, but I want to be appropriate your time.
Yeah.
And, something that you and I are very, very focused on and believe in is being amazing husbands and amazing fathers.
That's right. So says us, not our wives.
Yeah. And so
they're not here, so
joke's on them.
we could say that.
So you started Human Dad.
Yeah.
Which is a the next up and coming big, huge apparel brand.
That's right.
What was the beginning of the thought process?
The inception.
Yeah.
Well, the easy story, the fun story is like just being a dad. When you become a dad, it's, I don't know, I'm not really religious, but if there is a God, it's his greatest trick to be able to instill what it's like being a father only to parents, and only like when you're not a parent, you're never going to know what it's like. Mm-hmm. Like that's a funny trick, because if there is a God, that's the trick you're playing on people.
Social media can't show you parenting.
That's right. Yeah. Like they think it's not that good.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Like we know both sides. We know what it's like to not have them and have them. Yeah. People that never have kids will never know what it's like to have kids, and that's a funny trick, because when I became a father, that was it for me. Like that opened up my eyes about a lot of stuff. And I was like, forget like the apparel space, because I always kind of wanted to start my own apparel brand. But when I became a father, I was like, what is a dad? Like, what is fatherhood? And to me, now that I realize what it's like being a dad, it's being imperfect. Because I think a lot of people, whether you're a dad or not, you envision being a father as, I got to work through jobs. I got to make enough money for my family. I got to be the provider. I got to be this. A little bit of that is true, sure. But the only thing your kid cares about is being there. So I'm like, I need an apparel brand. I want to start an apparel brand that translates that you're not perfect and you're never going to be. But as long as you're there, you're doing everything right. Because that's all your kid wants, is for you to be there. So through ideas and connecting with a couple dads that were like-minded like me, and we're like, how can we create like an apparel brand that is unlike anything else in the dad space? Because there's a lot of great apparel brands out there, and a lot of them I still have, and I bought when I first found out I was going to be a dad, and they're great, the quality's good, all that, but the messaging just didn't hit me the right way. It was too cute. It's a lot of cursive letters and fatherhood, community, and I'm like, that's not being a dad. Being a dad is like, you're out with your boys, you're in the text message, you're all stressing and talking about how, this blowout diaper was and how this was, and it's messy and it's cat, and we curse, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to create a brand where you as a dad know that you're just human, you're not perfect, and you're safe here. You could do it, and that's where we came up with Human Dad. So,
and when was like that thought process?
So I started this about 2 years ago. Okay. Like when I was about 6 months old, I looked around and I was like, I'm only wearing 2 shirts anyway a week as a dad. And they're all like covered in like peanut butter and spit up and all that. So I was like, I need some cool apparel brand that I can actually sport and wear that reminds me that I'm a good dad. So that's when it kind of started, was about 6 months into being a dad. And then we really buttoned everything up about 6 months ago. Okay. So it took me about 1.5 years to figure out branding and how we want to do social. And
how'd you land on Human Dad?
Well, again, it kind of went back to the whole slogan. The whole thing is, hey, you're human. And I've always kind of had this like stoic, my podcast before I even started the apparel brand was humanity and hashtags, because I think if we can bring everything down to a human level, it works with everything. Yeah. So like if you're if you're kind of hard on yourself for work or personal reasons or whatever, you just sit back and just, man, I'm only human. Yeah. It's all good. Or if you could think back as like our ancestors, like what would they do? You know, like to me, it's always, if you could put yourself in that shoe of, you're not like an employee, you're not a dad, you're not a mom, you're just a human being trying to figure these things out, you know, like.
I think one of the biggest things I've learned from being a dad, that relates to like everything in life, is the more you die to self, the more happy you're going to be.
That's right. Yeah.
I think about it even from like corny, like what are like some corny connections, like people that have dogs, right? They think that the dog's their kid, right?
Right.
It's not because their dog's amazing. That's one of the reasons, but no, it's because they've cleaned up the throw up. They've cleaned up the diarrhea.
Yeah.
They've cleaned the carpets after the diarrhea and the throw up, right?
Yeah. You're putting in the work.
Yeah, and it's like you've been at the bottom with that, whether it's a kid or whether it's an animal. Like that's what builds because you die to self. Right. And whether that's, people feel the same way about charity work. Like
for sure,
charity work makes people happy because they're doing something for a greater cause. They're dying to themselves.
That's right.
What have the past 6 months been like? What do you want the next 6 years to be like?
Yeah, for me, the past 6 months have been a lot of work. We just finished our.
You told your wife it would be a lot of work.
That's right. Yeah. So she knew it.
Yeah.
So she wasn't surprised. But you know, we finished out our branding. We put together a bunch of samples. Like that was the hard thing, is trying to figure out the quality to make sure, like even this hat, it's part polyester, part cotton. It's a very cool blend, especially being in Florida and summer months. Like you're not going to have a hot head, right?
No pun intended.
When you wear it, right? Exactly. You might have a hot head, but physically your hat will be cool. Yeah. So like figuring out that type of stuff. And we just did our photo shoot, which was great. That was a lot of work, like planning and logistics, and now we're really starting to ramp up marketing. So like, it's been rough for 6 months. Now I'm kind of coasting on like the high of completing everything, and I'm not really worried too much about sales because we're just putting out content. You know, like we're not striving to be the most popular dad apparel brand. Like that might come over time, but for us, we just want to strive to be the most honest one. Mm-hmm. Like we're never gonna, say cute things in our social media posts. Like we're going to curse, and you don't want to have your shit on full blast volume when your kids are around because the content's going to be a little vulgar. It's going to be a little nasty. It's chaotic. It's messy. Like a lot of stuff isn't filtered. We don't use, high def cameras and all that stuff for our content. It's all like dad's nitty gritty behind the scenes. And that's kind of like the grassroots of it. So I think for us, if we can just keep that identity in the coming years, our growth is going to go.
One more question, then I'll get into some of the final questions of DNA with the new brand, Human Dad. Like, what you knew a ton about marketing and launching and entrepreneurship. What have you learned the past 6 months that you didn't know before launching?
Oh man, you cannot do everything.
Yeah, dude,
you cannot. You know that, but like I thought I could. Like I was like, I know how to do Google ads. I know how to do marketing. I could do social media, but like I'm good. Okay. I don't need you. I'm good. I do it. And then you start like doing the website and you're like, oh, hold on. Pixels? Wait a minute. Okay. You're linking this up. You're doing that. And then I'm like, okay, now I got to like figure out a way to cross post, but you can't just post on Instagram and Facebook. You got to do LinkedIn. You got to do Twitter. You got to do. So now I'm like posting all these other places. And then I'm like, well, now I have the content agency too. So I'm like, this is too much, bro. Yeah. And that's not including like customer service and the sales and packing the orders. That's like a different beast because returns and packing and shipping and
then accounting.
Bro, it's like, so what did I learn? I learned so much. And thankfully that was like the first year, we really figured things out logistically in the beginning, where now I'm comfortable with everything. But it took like 6 months to a year to figure out like all the back end stuff and designing the website and all that. So that was the hardest part, but now I feel good because we're working with a bunch of dads that are helping me kind of get the message across and doing some UGC stuff. And I was doing everything myself, but again, that I realized that I need to start delegating if I want this thing to grow. Yeah. And we just got our first overseas sale last week, so that's exciting. This guy from Austria picked it up and he sent me the video, and it was kind of cool when we got an overseas sale. And I was like, okay, we're doing something right. So things are happening. So it's getting there. We're excited.
Well, the question I like to end with the podcast being on Successful DNA, whether it's yourself or whether it's individuals around you or, people you've worked with in your agency or whatnot, what are like 2 or 3 like non-negotiables like inside of someone that someone has to have to be successful, and successful in the sense of entrepreneurial success?
That's a good question. I think there's a couple things. So, I mean, first I would say, and we talked about it before we were recording, but I'm a big believer in the happiness hypothesis, which is you have to be good at relationships with yourself and others. You have to be good with relationships with yourself and work, which means you have to enjoy what you do. And then you have to have some sort of purpose that you like doing outside of work and your relationships. So again, whether that's charity work or, grounding, praying, whatever, you have to get outside yourself a little bit. And I think if you can have those 3 things, then you can handle running a business. Because from my experience, when I started a couple businesses and they didn't last and they weren't successful like these, was I didn't have my shit together. Mm-hmm. Like I wasn't a good boyfriend at the time, right? I wasn't good at separating myself from work and doing something purposeful, and honing in and kind of grounding myself and being happy with what I was doing on a daily basis. So I think if you try to start a business for making money, all those 3 things that we talked about, relationships, work, and then purpose, all those 3 things are going to get messed up along the way. Your business is going to suffer, your employees are going to suffer, and everything else is going to crash. So I think you have to figure out those 3 things first, and then you can carry on running a business.
Well, awesome, man. Love your story.
Thanks, dude. That was it, dude? I got more time.
I know that's going on, I don't know, 45 minutes or so.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Man, it flies
and you're having fun.
Yeah, dude, that's it.
Human Dad, let's plug it in.
Yeah, dude,
Where
let's
can
do it.
people...
humandad.com. And then you can check me out at social. It's at the Berardo. So my last name. But if you know a dad out there, humandad.com.
At the Berardo, Berardo.
D-O. You got it, Elliott.
There we go. And then any discount codes for the podcast people? Love to create one.
I'll tell you what.
No, real friends pay full price. That's right.
Yeah, who posted? Someone posted the other day. They're like, was it Hormozy? He might have said something like, friends or... What is it? If you own a business, don't give away your shit for free. Ask for free shit from strangers.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But for your guests, go to humandad.com, use the code DAD20, 20% off and free shipping.
Hell yeah.
I will pack that shit myself for you guys.
Yeah. Cool.
Depending on how big it is. I mean, it's a lot of work.
Well, dude, I can't wait to do a number 2 when Human Dad pops off. I know it's going to.
Let's do it, man.
Cool. Thanks, bro.
Thank you, dude.
Yep.